Here is something that most people rarely say out loud. Thoughtful, a mature woman does not fall for pretty words anymore. She has heard the compliments. She has read the sweet messages. She has sat across from someone who tried too hard and felt the performance of it before the dessert arrived. Words stopped moving her the way they once did, not because she became cold, but because she became wise enough to know the difference between something real and something rehearsed. What actually reaches her is something different, something quieter, something that operates beneath the level of conversation entirely. Softly, it is touch, but not careless touch. Not the rushed, awkward, going through the motions kind. Not what you see in movies where everything is exaggerated and nobody actually feels like a real person. The kind of touch that reaches a mature woman is intentional, calm. Unhurried.it speaks a language that words cannot replicate, a language of safety, warmth, genuine presence, and quiet desire that her nervous system understands before her conscious mind has formed a single thought about it. Psychologists have studied this extensively. Research has shown that human beings can recognize specific emotions through touch alone, with remarkable accuracy, even between strangers. Which means that the right kind of physical contact does not just feel pleasant. It communicates something specific and powerful directly to the emotional centers of the brain. Today we are going to talk about 7 specific touches that create deep, genuine, lasting emotional connection with a mature woman. Not because they are techniques to memorize, but because understanding the psychology behind them will change how you show up in every moment of genuine closeness. Stay with me through all 7. Because the final one, the simplest one on this entire list, is the one most men rush past without understanding what they are actually offering when they get it right. Antero, welcome back to Secrets Inside the Mind. I am Liza. Every single day on this channel we have honest, real conversations about human psychology, attraction, and the truths about connection that most people never say clearly. If you are not subscribed yet, please do that right now and turn on your notifications. I post every day, and I genuinely want you here for every conversation. Now let us get into this. The foundation, why a mature woman responds differently. Before we get to the 7 touches, I need to explain something that will make everything else land properly. A mature woman responds to physical connection differently than a younger woman does, and understanding why is the key to everything we are going to cover today. A woman who has lived through significant relationships, significant loss, and significant growth has developed something that younger people are still building, a finely tuned ability to distinguish between what is genuine and what is performed, between presence and pretense, between someone who is actually there and someone who is physically in the room but mentally somewhere else entirely. She has experienced the difference, probably more than once, and it has left a mark. Which means she is not looking for impressive. She is not looking for dramatic or overwhelming or perfectly executed. She is looking for real. For the specific quality of attention that communicates, I am here. With you. Completely. Right now. And here is the profound thing about intentional touch. It is almost impossible to fake that quality. You can fake words. You can rehearse a speech or craft a perfect message. But the pace of your touch, the steadiness of your presence, the warmth in how you make contact, those things communicate your actual inner state. They tell her what your words cannot control. This is why intentional touch, done with genuine awareness and genuine care, reaches a mature woman in a way that almost nothing else does. Not because it is a technique, because it is the honest, physical expression of being truly present with another person. With that foundation in place, let us talk about the 7 touches. Subscribe reminder, before we get into the first touch, please subscribe to Secrets Inside the Mind right now. I am Liza. I post every single day, and every video is a real honest conversation about human psychology and connection. Hit that button and let us get into this. Touch 1. The steady hand on her lower back. The first touch sounds simple. And it is. But the simplicity is deceptive because what this specific touch communicates is anything but ordinary. The lower back is an area with a remarkable density of nerve endings connected to the emotional processing centers of the brain, which means contact here is felt not just physically but emotionally, often before she has consciously registered that anything has happened. But the what is almost secondary to the how, because the power of this touch lives entirely in its pace and its quality. Too fast, and it feels careless, like an afterthought, like you are moving past her rather than with her. Too much pressure, and it feels controlling, like you are guiding her somewhere rather than simply being beside her. But when your hand rests there slowly, naturally, with a kind of unhurried steadiness that comes from someone who is genuinely at ease, something shifts in her nervous system. Here is what a mature woman specifically feels in this moment that makes it so significant. She has spent years handling everything herself, carrying her own weight, managing her own world, being the steady one for everyone else. And when someone places a calm, grounded hand at the small of her back, not taking anything, not rushing anywhere, just present and steady, it communicates something she rarely gets to experience. Support, without demand, presence, without agenda. It says quietly, without a single word, you are not alone in this moment. And for a woman who has been strong for a long time, that feeling, that specific, simple feeling of not being alone, can be more meaningful than the most eloquent speech ever delivered. Touch 2, holding her hand with both of yours. Most people hold hands, but this is different. And the difference matters more than it might seem. When you take her hand with both of yours, when both hands wrap around hers completely, you create something that single-handed contact cannot. You create the felt experience of full attention. Her mind reads it not as a gesture, but as a statement, I am completely here. Nothing else is competing for my presence right now. That quality of full, undivided physical attention is rarer than most people realize. And a mature woman, who has spent years developing the ability to feel when someone is present versus when they are physically close, but mentally elsewhere, she will feel this immediately and completely. Think about what this touch eliminates. With both hands engaged, you are not half reaching for your phone. You are not gesturing at something else. You are not maintaining just enough contact to be polite while your attention is divided. Both hands around hers is the physical expression of being fully, completely there. For a woman who has experienced the particular loneliness of being with someone who is never quite all the way present, this kind of full, warm, unhurried attention is not just pleasant. It is healing. It closes a gap that she may not have even been able to name until she felt it being filled. Touch 3. Resting your forehead gently against hers. This touch requires something from both people, and that requirement is precisely what makes it so intimate. To rest your forehead against someone else's gently, both people have to slow down. Both people have to stop. The world narrows to just this moment, just this closeness, just this quiet. There is nowhere to go and nothing to perform. Just two people breathing the same air in stillness. That stillness is where the power lives. Because for a woman who has built emotional protection over years, walls that formed not from coldness, but from necessity, from having been hurt or overlooked or handled carelessly, this kind of contact does not demand that she tear the walls down. It simply makes the walls feel less necessary. It creates a space where being soft feels safe rather than dangerous. No words are needed. No explanations. No impressive statements. Just this. Just presence. Just the quiet message that you are comfortable being this close, this still, this real with her. And a mature woman, a woman who has learned to value substance over performance, responds to that kind of presence with something she does not offer lightly. She responds with genuine openness, the kind that does not need to be coaxed or convinced, the kind that simply comes when the conditions for it finally feel safe. Subscribe reminder, we are halfway through, and the final 4 touches go even deeper, the last one especially. Before we get there, please subscribe to Secrets Inside the Mind if you have not already. I am here every single day, and I want you here for all of it. Touch 4, the back of her neck, touch that requires trust. The 4th touch is the one that requires the most awareness, and when the timing is right, creates the most profound response. The back of the neck is deeply sensitive. Neurologically, it is one of the most responsive areas of the human body to gentle contact. But beyond the physical, it carries a specific psychological significance. It is an area of genuine vulnerability, one that most people do not allow to be touched casually, because allowing someone there requires a level of trust that cannot be manufactured or rushed. And that requirement is exactly what makes this touch so powerful when it happens at the right moment. Because what she feels when you reach that level of closeness, when trust has been built through consistent presence and genuine care, and all the quieter touches that came before, is not just physical warmth. It is the specific, profound experience of feeling completely safe with another person, of knowing that someone can be close to her most vulnerable places, and that closeness feels like shelter rather than exposure. The lesson here is simple and important. This touch cannot be rushed to. It has to be arrived at through patience, through genuine connection, through all the other moments of intentional presence that built the trust required for her to feel safe enough to let you be there. Timing is everything, and a man who understands that, who can be patient enough to let trust develop naturally rather than forcing intimacy before it is ready, is already rare. Touch 5, the slow thumb movement. This one is the smallest touch on this list, and in some ways the most quietly powerful. While you are holding her hand or sitting close with your hand resting near hers, a slow, gentle movement of your thumb, back and forth, unhurried, rhythmic. It is a touch so small that it could easily go unnoticed consciously. But it never goes unnoticed at the level where emotional connection actually lives. Here is why it works. The specific rhythm of that slow, steady movement communicates something that larger gestures cannot. It communicates ease, comfort, the absence of tension or agenda. It is the physical expression of someone who is genuinely at rest in this moment, genuinely content to simply be here. And for a mature woman who has been hyper-aware of tension in relationships, who has learned to read the subtle signals of someone who is present but restless, close, but already thinking about leaving, this quality of ease is extraordinarily attractive. It feels real. It feels natural. It feels like something that is not being performed for her benefit, but that exists simply because the person next to her is genuinely calm and genuinely glad to be there. And genuine calm, as we have said throughout this conversation, is one of the rarest and most deeply valued things one person can offer another. Touch 6. Pulling her closer without saying a word. The 6th touch is perhaps the most direct communication on this entire list, and it says something that words, no matter how well chosen, can never quite replicate. When you close the physical distance between you, when you reach for her and pull her gently closer without announcement, without explanation, without asking permission, you communicate desire in its most honest form. Not performed desire. Not desire that comes with conditions or expectations. Simply the quiet, unmistakable statement, I want you near me. For a mature woman, this matters in a way that goes deeper than simple flattery, because she has spent years navigating the exhausting dynamic of having to earn closeness, of being wanted conditionally, wanted when she was performing well, wanted when she was convenient, wanted when everything was going smoothly, but somehow less wanted when she was simply, honestly herself. When someone pulls her closer without a word, just because they want her near, just as she is, right now, it removes that exhausting calculation entirely. It says she does not need to earn this. She does not need to perform or prove or present a particular version of herself. She is wanted, simply, completely, as she is. That kind of uncomplicated wanting is something a mature woman values more than she is often given credit for. Touch 7, the long unhurried hug, and now we arrive at the final touch. The simplest one. The one most men perform casually 100 times without ever understanding what they are actually offering when they get it truly right. A long, unhurried hug. Not quick. Not perfunctory. Not the kind that ends before it has begun. A real embrace that simply stays. Research in psychophysiology consistently shows that extended physical embrace, genuine, relaxed, unhurried holding, activates the body's parasympathetic nervous system, reduces cortisol levels, releases oxytocin, and creates a measurable state of calm and safety in both people involved. In plain language, a real hug, held long enough to actually land, tells the nervous system that it is safe to put everything down for a moment. And for a mature woman, a woman who has been strong for a long time, who has held things together for years, who has rarely had the luxury of simply resting in someone else's steadiness, that experience is not just pleasant. It is profound. This is not about impressive. It is not about demonstrating something or creating a dramatic moment. It is about the quiet, generous act of simply being present long enough for her to feel it, of not rushing away, of holding the embrace until she has actually had a moment to exhale fully and feel what it is like to be genuinely held. When a man can do that, when he can offer that kind of unhurried, undemanding, completely present embrace, he gives a mature woman something she has probably been missing for a long time. The experience of resting, not of being impressed, not of being pursued, simply of being held. And that simple, profound experience of being truly held is something she will carry with her long after the moment has ended. Bringing it all together, let me bring all 7 touches together, because what connects them is more important than any individual one. The steady hand on her lower back, presence without agenda, support without demand. Both hands holding hers full, undivided attention made physical. Forehead resting against hers, stillness that makes vulnerability feel safe. The back of her neck, closeness that can only be earned through genuine trust. The slow thumb movement, ease and genuine calm communicated without words. Pulling her closer, desire expressed simply, honestly, without conditions. The long unhurried hug, the gift of being truly held without rushing away. Every single one of these touches shares the same essential quality. They are all unhurried. They all require genuine presence. They cannot be effectively performed by someone who is distracted or anxious or going through motions. They can only be delivered authentically by someone who is actually genuinely there. And that is the deepest truth of this entire conversation. These touches work not because of where they happen or how they are technically executed. They work because of the quality of awareness behind them. The specific quality of a person who has slowed down enough to be completely present with someone else. A mature woman has lived long enough to feel the difference between that quality and its absence. And when she encounters it, when she is genuinely in the presence of someone whose touch communicates real presence and real care, she responds with something that cannot be manufactured or rushed. She responds with trust. And trust, in the architecture of everything that matters in human connection, is everything. Oh, Utero, these touches do not require money or status or perfect circumstances. They require only awareness and intention, the willingness to slow down, the discipline to be fully present, the understanding that genuine connection is built not through impressive gestures, but through the quiet, consistent quality of your attention. Now I want to hear from you. Has someone ever touched you in a way that stayed with you, not because it was dramatic, but because it was genuine? What was it about that moment that made it unforgettable? Tell me in the comments. I read every single one. If this video gave you something real today, please give it a like, share it with someone who needs to hear this, and subscribe to Secrets Inside the Mind if you have not already. I am here every single day. I am Liza. I will see you tomorrow.